my book and wax friends. I'm back. If you're new, welcome. Welcome back if you're returning. I've been sick. If you watched my last video, my whiff box video, I sounded terrible in that video. I'm still not completely sounding normal, but I'm doing a lot better. So I wanted to get on and finally do my October wrap up, the books I read and the wax that I used to go along with the books. So let's jump into it. First, let me show you my official TBR. So these are the 8 books that were on my official TBR list. Of the 8 of them, I read 4 of them. So of the 4 that I didn't read, I had a soft DNF, and that was The Monstrous Kind. I just couldn't get into it, but I was liking it so far enough to maybe in the future I would read it. So hopefully if I'm feeling it later, I will come back to that one. But I did read 9 books, even if only 4 were from my official TBR. So let us get into it. I will do the home fragrance at the end. That is what I always do. So stick around if you are interested in seeing the books, the wax that corresponds with the books that I read. The first one that I did read was Legendary. This was a reread. This is the second book in the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber. This is a special edition from Lilac's Library, I think, if I'm remembering right. The other special editions are right there, so it makes a carousel. Anyway, I love it. I love the special editions. They're so cute and girly and whimsical. I love them. But anyway, so I did do a reread of Legendary, second book in the Caraval series. And it actually went down in rating for me this time around, only 3.5. Last time when I read it, it was a 4-star. I listened to it on audio this time, and I feel like that took away some enjoyment for me because I'm not the biggest fan of the audio narrator. And I don't like how she really portrays Scarlett and Tella. So anyway, so I think that's why it took away a little bit from the enjoyment of it for me. But it's still whimsical, fun time, and I am rereading them, so I can reread Once Upon a Broken Heart again. Of course, I could still, but I wanted to get some more backstory again that I might have forgotten, and I actually have forgotten. I had forgotten quite a few things, so it's been fun to do a reread of it. So if you're not familiar with Caraval, this series, it's about 2 sisters. They escape from the island they live on. Their father is a governor there, and he's abusive, and they escape to go to this game called Caraval that they get invited to go to, and whoever wins the game gets a wish, and it starts from there. So it's a lot of fun. It is a fun series. I do recommend it, especially if you want to read the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, which I highly recommend. That's a God tier series for me, because there are some overlapping characters. So you don't absolutely have to read Caraval, but I personally think that you should. Okay, the next book I read is a first time read, and that is Can't Help Falling by Courtney Walsh. And this one is about a girl named Emmy who it owns a bookstore, and she also has this secret where she does a relationship advice podcast, but no one knows that she does it because she actually doesn't have the best of luck as far as relationships go herself. Well, she was best friends in high school with the guy named, what's his name, Owen? Yeah, his name was Owen, but it was kind of a secret friendship because she was also best friends with his sister, and he was known as a troublemaker at the time when he was in high school, and so she helped him a lot with his schooling and stuff, and they became really good friends. And then you come to find out that they continue to be friends even after high school, but then something happens that they grew apart from. and she's always harbored feelings for him, but he always looked at her as just a friend. He never could imagine her as anything else. So he ends up moving back to town, where they live. Harvest Hollow, I think is the name of the town. He ends up moving back to town. He's a firefighter now, and he gets hired on at the fire department there in town. They meet and kind of reconnect, but she's a bit anxious because of how things ended between them. I don't want to spoil it. So it develops from there. It was a cute, wholesome romance. Courtney Walsh writes clean romances, so there wasn't any language or any open door scenes at all. It was sweet, and I really did enjoy it. For me, I gave it a 4.25 stars, so that is Can't Help Falling. Then after that, I read Forgery of Roses, and this is by, I can't remember who wrote this book. Jennifer, oh, actually I have her other book. Jessica S. Olsen wrote Forgery of Roses. And this is a YA fantasy about a girl named Myra, and she has this magical ability where she is able to paint portraits of people, and if she alters the portrait, it alters the actual person. Well, these people that are blessed with this type of magic are kind of shunned in their society. They worship someone who's called the artist, and a lot of people in that society look at these people that can do this type of magic through portrait and stuff as evil and blasphemous against the artist. And so they're kind of shunned and have to do their magic on the down low. Well, Myra's parents end up disappearing, and so it's just her and her sister, Lucy, who is sick. And so she is working in an art studio and keeps her secret on the down low. Well, the governor's wife comes in one day to get a portrait of her animal painted and ends up finding out Myra's secret. And she purposely came there to try and find someone actually that could do that sort of magic through portraits, because her son, who was supposed to eventually become like the next governor in the land, died. And so she wants Myra to resurrect him through her painting a portrait of him. And Myra gets blackmailed because actually the governor is one of those people against that type of magic. So it starts from there. Myra ends up connecting with the governor's other son, whose name is August. They end up forming a sweet relationship there. It was an interesting story. I did enjoy it. It had some twists that I wasn't expecting at all. And I could see the comparison to A Picture of Dorian Gray, and the other one that was kind of taken inspiration from as well was like Jack the Ripper. It had some of those elements in it as well. So it was a fun book. I did enjoy it. It kind of was a little anticlimactic at the end for me. It feels like possibly it could be a story that could be continued, but it wrapped up enough to where it wasn't like I feel like I'm waiting for the next book or anything like that. So that is Forgery of Roses. My rating for this was 3 stars. Next, after that, on audiobook, I read The Nightingale. And this is by, who is this by? Kristen Hanna. There we go. Kristen Hanna. And this was on my 25 books I wanted to read in 2025. I've never read a Kristen Hanna before. I'm not really into like World War II historical fiction, but I was like, I want to read one of her books. And this is one of the ones that's always highly recommended. So even though I knew it was probably going to wreck me, I wanted to give it a shot. So this is about two sisters during France's occupation from Nazi Germany during World War II. And it's about the things that they go through during the occupation. The older sister, Vienne, she is married, and her husband has to go off to war at the beginning before France surrenders and gets occupied by Nazi Germany. So her husband goes off to war, and she's left at home with just her daughter. And from that, her house gets occupied by a German soldier. And then her younger sister, Isabel, ends up, who's younger, 18, 19, something like that. She ends up joining the rebellion, the revolution, those that are fighting against Germany, even though France is occupied. So it follows their stories and how their stories kind of intersect, and the heartache and hardship and trauma and everything that they have to go through during those years of occupation, and how in their own ways they fight against that occupation, and how they help the resistance. So you start the book in 1995, and it's one of the sisters looking back on what had happened, and that's where you start. And you don't know which sister it is until the very end, or very close to the very end of the book. And then you find out which sister it is after she's pretty much told the whole story of what happened to them during that time. So content, it's about World War II. So there's mentions of torture and war and death and SA, all that stuff is in it. Kristen Hanna does not go into super detail about it, but it is there. It is definitely an adult book, and it does have some smattering of profanity as well in it. But again, it's during World War II, so it's more understandable to me. It's just not put in there to be put in there type of thing. But it is there, but it's not like constant. But just to be aware, this is an adult book. This is not something I would give my 15-year-old to read or anything like that. But I did enjoy it. It made me feel the whole gamut of emotions. I enjoyed it. I really connected to the characters. Made me emotional. I did cry more than once. I'm tearing up right now over it. My rating, I would give it a 4.75. I can't give it a 5-star, even though it did make me feel all the things. A 5-star, it doesn't give me that 5-star feels. A 5-star book is usually one that I can see myself going back and rereading. And this isn't one that I could ever see myself rereading, even though I felt all the things and went through the story with these two sisters. Yeah, so 4.75. It was close to 5-star, but didn't give me those 5-star feels. Alrighty. After that, I read another Stephanie Garber book, her new one. That is Alchemy of Secrets, and this is the Waterstones special edition. That's why it looks different than the US edition. I much prefer this edition to the US edition. That's why I got this one. But so this book is about a lady, she's in her 20s, like mid-20s, named Holland St. James, and she is a grad student for a lady called the Professor. So the Professor teaches this class called Folklore 517, I think it is. Something like this. It's kind of like a secret class. She lives in LA. So it's one of the universities down there. Folklore 517, yeah. So in the LA area. And this is a class that Holland takes because she believes that there really is magic. And this takes place in like modern day time. So it's a contemporary, is the period that you're in. She takes this class, and come to find out she does believe in magic, and she finds magic because she decides to find this guy called the Watchmaker. I think his name is the Watchmaker. And from there, finds out from him, he can tell a person when they're supposed to die. Finds out from him that she's going to die in 48 hours unless she finds what's called the alchemical heart. And if she finds it, then she'll live longer than that. So he's not someone that's threatening her. He just tells a person exactly when they're supposed to die. So from there, a lot of things happen. She comes across a few people that say they're going to help her, but you can't trust anyone. So this is like a Alice in the Wonderland down the rabbit hole type of situation where you don't know what's up and what's down, but you're along for the ride. It is a crazy ride for sure. And you don't know who to trust. One minute something's happened, and the next minute you're like, oh wait, I shouldn't have trusted that person type of thing. So I really enjoyed the whimsical, magical elements in this book. It had that old Hollywood Art Deco vibe to it for sure. Even though it takes place in modern day times, it has magical elements, magical realism elements to it that still gives, Stephanie Garber's so good at giving that whimsical vibe to all her books, and I'm so here for it. I love the mystery element of it. I enjoyed the caper of the whole situation. Like I said, you don't know what's up and what's down. If you're going into it thinking it's a romance book, it is not a romance book. There is a smidge of romance in it, but it is not a romance book. Maybe in future books, because I think it's going to be a trilogy as well. Maybe we'll get more romance, but the romance is minimal in this book because that's not what Holland's there for. She's trying to solve this mystery and not die, and solve this other mystery about her parents. And so there isn't, even though there's smidges of romance, it's not a romance book. So just to be aware of that. So I did really enjoy it. Content-wise, this is an adult book, but it's not, it still has, there's no open door scenes or anything. There's a couple like passionate kisses, and then there's a small amount of profanity, but that does include one F-bomb, which I have to say I was a little disappointed in that. But as far as profanity throughout the book, it's very minimal. And so there is that. So my rating for this is 4.5 stars. I did enjoy it, but it did not give me 5-star feels. But I see where it's going, and I can see where I could really end up giving 5 stars to future books. I'm hopeful that the very ending, the little glimmer that I got from it, comes to pass. Anyway, I don't want to give anything away, but hopefully my thoughts are right in that regards. So yeah, 4.5 stars. I did enjoy it for sure. The next book I read was a cozy fantasy called Cat Dragon. This is by Samantha Birch, and it was for the prompt new to you author. And this is about a witch named Aloysia, and she is in charge of kind of like helping people with plant type of stuff. They live in this community. What is it called? Tangleroot Valley. And their valley is filled with magic. So it's a whole magical community of witches. But there are regular humans living there as well. So not everybody has that ability. But Aloysia is a witch who still hasn't, even as an adult, I think she's in her 30s, hasn't gotten her cat dragon familiar. So everyone that is a witch ends up bonded to a cat dragon, while Aloysia still hasn't, even though she's in her 30s. And she feels bad about that, obviously. And so this is her tale of, number one, finding her cat dragon. And then number two, there is this magical disaster that happens in their valley to where they are going to end up losing the magic in the valley, and everyone will suffer because of that. And so Aloysia and her sister's brother, whose name is Hollis, end up having to go on this quest to find the answer to what is happening in the valley. I don't want to give anything away, so I'm trying to be as vague as possible. So they go on this quest to try and help their valley not be decimated. And along the way, they come across a few other characters that help them. So there's a big found family aspect of it. And there is a enemies to lovers, kind of annoyed acquaintances to lovers aspect of it. It's not really enemies. And I really enjoyed the character dynamic between all the characters together. And then there is a small amount of romance. I wouldn't say this is a romantasy, even though it has been categorized in some of them as a romantasy. There is a tiny bit of romance in it, for sure. And it's a sweet romance, but it did not feel like a romantasy. It felt like a cozy fantasy with a small amount of stakes as well. So, and this actually, the stakes got kind of big, but it still felt more insulated, cozy, a type of fantasy, even through the stakes that were there. So for me, I loved it. It had all the autumnal vibes that you could want in this. At the beginning, Aloysia is carving pumpkins that she has to do every Halloween to bring back these soul seeds that are ancestor souls that choose to come back in the pumpkin patch for the Halloween season type of thing. And it starts from there, and it goes to all the autumnal goodness that you could want, for sure. So I highly recommend this book. It was so cute. The content, no content. There was no, it was clean. Nothing to worry about at all. So that makes it even better for me. So my rating was a 5 stars. I loved it. It was so cute. So that is Cat Dragon. After that, you guys, I finally finished Count of Monte Cristo. And I'm so happy. So I've been reading this since June. And I finally finished it. I've just been reading it when I could on audiobook for the past 5 months. And I finished it in October. And this is a story, if you're not familiar, a classic about a man named Edmond Dantes. And he ends up wrongfully accused and imprisoned. And he's a prisoner for years and years and years. And he befriends another prisoner who's kind of wrongfully accused as well in prison. And this other prisoner is an old man. And they decide to break out of prison. I can't remember the prisoner's name. He ends up telling Edmund about this island called Monte Cristo, where there's this king's ransom of treasure that he wants Edmund to have because he knows he's not going to make it out of the prison himself. And so he tells him where it's at, and Edmund ends up escaping. And so it ends up being this, from there, this revenge plan that Edmund has. He recreates himself to be the Count of Monte Cristo, and he goes to revenge himself on everyone that wronged him, that falsely accused him and put him in prison when he was innocent of all those crimes. So I did enjoy it. It was very long, though, over 1,000 pages, and it didn't feel like it needed to be that long. I felt like it could have been shorter, but I come to find out during that time, the author, which I cannot remember the name of his name off the top of my head, but anyway, the author of the book, Alexander Dumas, during that time, they got paid by the word. So it made a lot more sense after that as to why it was such drawn out like it was. It's just, it got to the point where it was like, come on, you're beating around the bush in regards to just say what needs to be said type of thing. So I enjoyed the character study. I enjoyed seeing Edmund and his thinking that he is kind of an avenging angel from God, that it's God's will that he revenges himself on these people that wronged him, and how he comes to kind of change his perspective towards the end of the book, thinking, well, maybe it wasn't God's will, and he regrets a little bit what happens, but still those people kind of get what's coming to them in the various ways that they do. So I do recommend this book. I'm glad that I read it. Like I said, though, it was, for me, I felt like it didn't have to be as long as it was. But I am very glad that I was able to finish. I feel accomplished for sure for finally reading The Count of Monte Cristo. And for me, I gave it, my rating is 4 stars. So after that, I read another one, audiobook, and that is Dracula, another classic that I've been wanting to get to for a very long time. I was able to finish that, and Dracula is one of the original tales about vampires. It's about Count Dracula, and I like that it is written in journal and epistolary type of form. I really enjoyed that a lot. And the book starts out with Jonathan Harker, who has come to Transylvania to get Dracula, which at the time he didn't know he was a vampire, to sign some documents because Dracula wants to buy property in England. And so that's where it starts, and it goes from there. It takes place in Transylvania, and it does take place in England as well. And you get all, like I said, all different journal entries from Jonathan, from his fiancée, Mina, and from Van Helsing, and all different type of people. I came to really care for these characters. There is not a lot of interaction, like actual interaction with Dracula. There is when Jonathan is in Transylvania, but when they get to England, again, since it's in journal form, it's a lot more of like planning, like what's going on with these people. And then once they figure out Dracula's a vampire, like planning on how to defeat him, that sort of thing. But you being in their heads since it's through journal form, you come to really know these characters and come to care about them. At least I did. And I thought it was interesting with Van Helsing, like what I'm familiar in regards to Van Helsing. I didn't realize in the original story he's like a professor from Holland. I think it was Holland where he's originally from the Netherlands. So, but he is an expert on vampires and all that sort of thing. So he could run on a little bit in regards to trying to beat around the bush, get to the point of stuff. And that got a little bit annoying, but after finishing The Count of Monte Cristo, it was not even close to how that would run on in regards to getting to the point. It wasn't like that. So he didn't bother me too much because of it, because I just had that experience with The Count of Monte Cristo. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It's either between a 4.25 and a 4.5. I'm leaning more towards a 4.25 stars as far as my rating goes. I'm glad I read it, and I did really enjoy it. So that is Dracula. Then the last book, I just realized I did have the actual book on me, but I mainly read it through audio. And this was, I forgot to tell you that too, a book that became a movie. So this very much multiple movies it became. So, all right, moving on. The last book that I read during the month of October is A Dark and Secret Magic by Wallace Kinney, and this is set in your favorite season. So this is another cozy fantasy, and I adored this one too. So this is about a girl named Hecate. Kate is what she goes by, and she is a hedge witch. And she, in their coven, which they're in like modern times in America, somewhere in Massachusetts, I think is where they live. And their coven forces the witches to like choose a specialty. So when they become 30, I think it's 30, when they become 13, they give their intention of what specialty they want to do their magic in. I can't think of the right word. The magical specialty they want to focus on. There we go. And then when they turn 30, they give the rest of their magic to their like coven leaders. And so when Hecate was little, when she was born, her mother actually forced her to become a hedge witch. And that's uncalled. It's usually the witch's choice. And then at 13, her mother again was like, you're going to become a hedge witch. And she doesn't know why, but she was like, okay. And so she's kind of forced to do this magic, even though she's good at it. She is forced to become a hedge witch. And so as a hedge witch, you kind of live a lonely, like away from everybody else life, but you offer sanctuary to people, you help with healing. And so she has her own little cottage at the edge of her family's estate. And from there, she comes across a guy who comes for sanctuary, and what was his name? Matthew. And she's had dealings with him in the past when she was younger and felt tricked by him. He is also a witch from a different coven, but they look down on this coven. I think they're in Portland. The coven that she's in, sorry, I'm rambling a little, looks down on these witches because they feel like they practice dark magic. And so it goes from there. So this is again, all the autumnal, cozy vibes that you could want in this book. I loved it. There's a lot of like, it's leading up to Halloween. And so there's like a countdown, like to Halloween, like different days, like 2 days to Halloween, that sort of thing. And I enjoyed the cozy aspect of it, the autumnal aspect. I also liked that there was this kind of spooky element to it too. There was a little bit of the spookiness, mystery element with this, what was it? He was kind of like Hades in a way, who's trying to come back to the mortal world. And so there's this mystery element where they're trying to stop this person from doing so, type of thing. So anyway, I loved it. If you're looking for a cozy Halloween fantasy, this one is really good, and with a little bit of spookiness to it too. And this is the unplugged book box. So good. So good. So 5 stars. And that one, content-wise, it just had a tiny bit of mild language, but that was all that was in it. So, yeah, my rating, 5 stars. Loved it. So 2 5 stars this month. I'm very, very happy. Okay, so let's move on to the wax that I did melt with the books that I read. So the ones that were audiobooks, I don't ever like count because it takes, more time and I melt multiple things. So let's move on to the ones that were read by my eyeballs. And I will tell you what I melted. So Can't Help Falling. She likes to have like pastries and stuff at her bookstore. And so I thought this would be a perfect choice. Pumpkin roll. This is a yummy pumpkin roll scent. It's cakey. It's a little nutty. It's pumpkin-y. It's delicious. And unless I say otherwise, these scents are available on my website, which is always listed below for y'all. Okay, for the next one, Forgery of Roses, I melted, and where did that scent go? I don't know what happened to that scent. I just had it on me. Just 1 second. All right, I found it. It was hiding under my bookshelf. So for Forgery of Roses, I melted Dragonfly In, which is part of the Gilmore Girls wax collection that we have right now. I melted this one because it has a floral note to it, and I felt like for the Forgery of Roses, the title, that it would work well. So this is a nice spa-like, fruity floral, and that one was really nice. Then for Alchemy of Secrets, since it has that whole like old Hollywood vibe to it, I felt this would be a good choice. Old Fashioned Evening, which old fashioned is an alcoholic drink. And so I was like, yeah, this one will work really well, I feel like, with the story. And it did, and it's amazing. It's so good. Cherry and warm and so nice. Then for Cat Dragon, because it's such a sweet autumnal scent, I decided to do Caramel Apple Craze. Caramel Apple Craze smells like a caramel apple, and it's amazing. So good. Caramel apple goodness. So yummy. So Caramel Apple Craze, perfect for that sweet, cozy fantasy. Then after that, for the last one that I read with my eyeballs, Dark and Secret Magic. For this one, I went with something a little more spooky. And that is White Pumpkin and Driftwood. This is actually a really like sophisticated pumpkin scent, and it's so nice. There's cardamom, white pumpkin, which is different than regular pumpkin, and then that driftwood note, and it's so good. So White Pumpkin and Driftwood, I felt worked perfectly for this one because, like I said, there's that kind of spooky element to this story. So that's it, you guys. Those are the 9 books that I got through, and the wax bars that I melted with them for the month of September. Sorry, this is so late. But like I said, I've been recovering for the past week from being sick. So I appreciate all of you guys. Please let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these books, or what was your favorite book of October. And yeah, I appreciate you. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Please like and subscribe if you haven't yet. And until next time, TTFN. Ta-ta for now.